Welcome to the 700 Club. The U.S. government's efforts to fight climate change took a hit yesterday. A Supreme Court ruling cut back the power of the Environmental Protection Agency.
Well, the court also shot down the authority of bureaucrats to make law, and the ruling should rein in other government agencies as well. That means a big change in the way Washington works. Brody Carter explains.
Thursday's Supreme Court decision limited the EPA's authority to set standards on greenhouse gas emissions for existing power plants. Democrats call it a major blow to fighting climate change, while conservatives called the decision a victory for the Constitution. In the 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court's conservative majority ruled that only Congress has the power to create sweeping regulations that would limit emissions from existing power plants, and not the Environmental Protection Agency.
What the court said is that EPA way overstepped their bounds here.
In other words, Congress, our legislature, our democratically elected, democratically accountable representatives have to make the major policy decisions for us unless they clearly delegate it to the agencies.
The court didn't take a position on what the correct environmental regulation should be. The justices, however, ruled on who has the authority to make major policy decisions that have a significant economic impact, saying that on such decisions like sweeping government rules, a regulatory agency can't act on its own. It needs specific authorization from Congress. Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for the majority, said a decision of such magnitude and consequence rests with Congress itself, or an agency acting pursuant to a clear delegation from that representative body. In her dissent, Justice Elena Kagan, joined by the court's two other liberals, argued Congress had given the EPA the authority to act, but instead, the court appoints itself instead of Congress or the expert agency, the decision maker on climate policy. I cannot think of many things more frightening.
They used a law from 1970 that was meant to go after sources of pollution point by point, and instead tried to completely remake the electricity grid of the United States. And the court said, you can't do that absent Congress saying you can.
The case against the EPA's action was brought by West Virginia's Attorney General, representing some 20 Republican states, including coal and mining companies.
A lot of people are going to try to make this into an issue about climate change. This is about ensuring that Congress, not unelected bureaucrats, get to make the major decisions of the day.
The more important part of today's decision is really who decides. So who decides the major questions of economic and political significance in America? And the court got it correct. It's Congress.
The ruling specifically affects the EPA. However, every federal agency will now have to review its regulations more closely, as it's likely to limit bureaucracies from making sweeping new rules that could affect the entire country.
We have not outgrown the Constitution, and especially the Constitution's protection that it is our legislature that makes our laws and not unelected bureaucrats.
Brody Carter, CBN News.
And I will say a hearty amen to this ruling that it's high time that the power of bureaucracies gets reined in. They're making rules, they're making laws, they're making things that you and I have to comply with. And those laws have real teeth, whether it's fines or criminal penalties. And it's all done without an elected representative participating in the process at all. It's called a delegated authority. Now, you can simplify this case pretty easily. And what happened is back in the Obama administration in 2015, the EPA said under the 1970 Clean Air Act, they had the power to say carbon dioxide is a pollutant. That's what they said. That's what they ruled. CO2, what you and I breathe out all the time, is now a pollutant, and they have the power to regulate it. And in that regulation, they determined that they needed to completely redo the power grids of the United States. So anything that was using coal, anything that was using natural gas, they could put restrictions on because now the carbon dioxide coming from those plants was a regulated pollutant. What the Supreme Court said is that's a huge overreach. You had no congressional authority. You can't possibly say in 1970 the Congress intended carbon dioxide to be regulated. So let's make this real simple. That's what happened at the Supreme Court yesterday. The left is going crazy with it, and I would say the dissent as well. The first part of the dissent is all about global warming and how the Supreme Court is now trying to somehow regulate global warming. And it's not the case at all. The Supreme Court is saying this is not part of the federal system. You can't delegate this kind of rulemaking to a bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy can't assume that delegation. There has to be an express intent by Congress to do it. What this ruling also points out is we have a problem in passing laws. You can say the United States is a vetocracy. It's a veto where anyone can veto, whether it's in Congress or in Senate or in the executive branch, and therefore it's very difficult to get laws passed. If you're concerned about global warming, and the Obama administration was, realize this was in 2015. It was at the end of his second term. So he made a decision, I don't have a way forward through proper legislation. I can't get this through Congress. I can't get it to the Senate. I can't get it passed. We need to do something, and so the EPA got empowered to do it. So our fundamental system is broken, and on a biblical basis, a house divided against itself cannot stand. What happened to moderate Democrats? What happened to moderate Republicans? What happened to the ability to come together and, for the good of the nation, pass new laws to address the problems we all face? That seems to be gone. There seems to be ideological tests on both sides. On the Democrats, if you're not progressive enough, they're going to run against you in a primary and defeat you. On the Republican side, that's been going on for some time. And at what point do we say, wait a minute, we have a country to run. If we're going to be the leader of the free world, then we need to lead. In other news, the Biden administration got a major win at the Supreme Court yesterday. John Jessup has that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
That is right, Gordon. That win, the result of a case dealing with immigration. The Supreme Court ruling the administration can end the Remain in Mexico policy put in place by former President Donald Trump. The policy allowed the United States to send migrants back to Mexico while they waited for their asylum cases to play out in U.S. immigration courts. The ruling will have little immediate impact because the Biden administration has rarely used the policy, and the White House still has to deal with the huge number of illegal immigrants flooding the southern border. Well, 15 years ago, Apple started selling the iPhone, revolutionizing the way we communicate and connect. And as Abigail Robertson reports, it's also created new ways to evangelize and spread the gospel.
This iPhone was the first to download the YouVersion Bible app, an app that now has more than 500 million downloads. The free app was also among the first 200 available in the App Store.
I am super grateful for the iPhone because it made it possible for us to have the Bible app.
And that opportunity came a year after the iPhone release, when Apple opened the digital doors of its App Store.
We saw the technology as a potential to reach people with the gospel. And we had no idea, though, how God could use it in such a powerful way to reach people in every single country and territory with his word. And we've been able to be a witness to something really incredible that God's done.
The app now features about 2,600 versions of the Bible in almost 1,800 languages. Founder Bobby Grunwald, also a pastor at Life Church in Oklahoma, tells CBN News the next phase of the app will help people connect with local churches.
And we're really excited to be able to provide that because we really care passionately about the Capital C Church. And we really believe the Bible app is a great tool to help be able to connect people to church and local communities to help them grow spiritually.
YouVersion partnered with the Museum of the Bible to create this high-tech digital exhibit.
This is a fun spot in the museum. It's Bible Now. So you see here what's going on with the here and now of the Bible.
One part shows the most popular Bible verses and keyword searches in each country where the Bible app is available.
You can look at it and see what people are searching for and really kind of take a temperature of what's going on in the world and how people are feeling by what they're looking up in the Bible.
Shannon Bennett from the Museum of the Bible tells CBN News how the app is helping spread the gospel.
We can really look at YouVersion as a continuation of Gutenberg's tradition and getting the Bible into the hands of everyone around the world. Maybe you can download the Bible app in North Korea, but if you bring your phone in that has the Bible on it already, there it is, in a country that bans the Bible.
Grunwald's church constantly monitors how new technology can be used to share the gospel.
We're not proclaiming that that's where everybody's at or where that's even the next big thing. But we're just wanting to, do these experiments, try things. We just don't want to be guilty of not making every attempt to share the gospel with people wherever they're at.
Currently, Life Church has about 150 people from all over the world attending their church in the metaverse.
What we found is really interesting, but people, when they have a physical facade, when they're using an avatar, for example, to kind of navigate these virtual environments, they're much more comfortable sharing spiritual and emotional things that are kind of going on the inside.
Grunwald says so far the metaverse has created a really rich opportunity for ministry where the church has seen positive results, but he acknowledges it's still an experiment. Reporting from Washington, Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Thanks, Abby. Technology expanding the ways we can fulfill the Great Commission. Gordon?
Congratulations to Bobby Grunwald, and congratulations to Life Church for spearheading this, taking that Bible app around the world. It's one of the most downloaded apps in existence, and it's amazing how effective it is to get the Bible into people's hands. And I applaud them for taking on new challenges, whether it's the metaverse or these other virtual church environments. I'm not a digital native, so I'm not going to be signing up for it anytime soon. But it is wonderful that those who are digital natives can find a place where they can celebrate their faith.